This is Weird Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. Of course, go to the Weird Renegade website. Of course, you see the phone number there. Hit me up in reference to 101 monthly lessons. And of course, the 101 lessons that I work with individuals very closely, which is separate from the monthly lessons, in addition to work. And understand that work is separate from the 101 lessons. And again, I talk about at times it can be incorporated depending on what the issues are, but I work very closely with individuals. Monthly lessons are separate. And monthly lessons can be of anything, any questions, and so on. Again, which is separate of me work with individuals one-on-one. Okay? However, you already know that art is occultism. Occultism is a motherfucking art. And wayward is about that revenge, redemption, and responsibility, and that spell work. I just quickly wanted to come back with some because I have some fucking questions about some energies that's been going on, right? And so this is kind of a continuance of the other video that was done. So I have a question. White people. I shook the hands of some white folks, and their hands were cold and clammy and gooey. What type of spell work is that? What is on the inside of them? What is the soul? What is the temperature? And not being rude. And because of that, how do we have sex with them? I'm not being racist. I'm just asking questions. As they ask questions about us, I have questions about what is that frequency? There isn't any warmth. And when I shake the hands of some, there are no souls. It's like it's gone, it's empty. So much so that you don't even want them to hit your palm, which your palm is another eye, another frequency, and another energy. It's like as if you have to shake the hands like this. I'm just asking questions. I'm so curious. In Los Angeles at one time, in backyards, it used to be avocado trees and lemon trees. How come in Los Angeles or even Southern California some parts, why don't we see avocados anymore growing? Either lemons, but we see oranges and mangoes? Because at one time, avocados grew in California wildly. In the Bay Area, what happened to the blackberries and the raspberries and the blueberries? They grew wild, wild in the bushes. What happened to that? We don't have questions, right? At one time, a watermelon was considered squash. At one time, sweet potatoes and yams grew in America, and it was considered indigenous. It didn't come from Africa. It didn't come from the Caribbean islands. It grew right here. Is it because the original people ended up being shipped out and brought those seeds with them into those regions? And what happened to kind of purple yams that used to have the sweetness and the sugar used to seep out from the tips of it. What happened to that? The same thing. And why are sweet potatoes dyed? When you cut them open, it's like you touch them and it's like a dye gets on your hands. Why is there something called Korean yams? Where did that come from? Yams didn't grow over there. I'm just asking questions because you don't. I have a question. How did black people go from American blacks who are indigenous to the United States go from drinking lemon juice, using lemons as detox, doing detoxins with lemon and cooking with lemon to cooking with ginger? Would we say that ginger is more of on the Caribbean tip and maybe African tip? But there's certain energies that Americans use, Black Americans. Then there's certain energies that, of course, your Caribbeans and your Africans may use. Because I noticed a shifting from lemons to ginger actually around 2002, 2003, when the whole conscious community started to uproot itself. And then you got into the whole vegan diet energy that removed the lemon and substituted the ginger, which is nothing wrong with ginger. You could do both. But ginger, you also got to be careful of because it can strip certain nutrients. So it has to be in moderation. Or in moderation per se, rather than lemon, which is an alkaline. But a ginger can lead into an acidic frequency. Meaning more fiery. Even though lemon, yeah, you say, well, it's a lemon, but it's almost like an alkaline frequency. Two different frequencies. And lemon is not as harsh on the belly than ginger. Is that why technically you're supposed to cook ginger down? Because of course it's a root. And I'm just more interested, when did American blacks get so interested in ginger? Or become so interested? Because then also you have the Asian culture that use a lot of ginger. From Chinese to Japanese. I'm just asking questions, right? I see some people were a little disgruntled about the blind item. And some of you believed that you figured out some energies. Well, I got some more blind item for you. In New Orleans, there's this person who went there with his wife. It is a continuance of the day before with the whole food stamp thing. Now this is day number 2 with the food stamp energy, right? They back at it with the queens. This time they brought a different card. But this card is the wife's father's card. It's in the wife's father's name. This time, they allegedly offered $600 in food stamps to go to this Ross store. Okay? And this time, They booked a room at the Holiday Inn, New Orleans, that is owned by some Indians. Okay? They went to the Holiday Inn. They did what they did. They do what they do. The people again got a hold, allegedly, of card information and more. The nigga must have went to sleep, because allegedly the drag queens went all through the wallet, went all through the phone, pulled phone numbers, did all the above, allegedly. When it came about, the blind item went and told the drag queens, I don't know if it's one or two, because I'm hearing that it's plural, but we're going to play the game. Told them, you could have the room. Cool. And then they continued on doing what they do. However, allegedly the drag queens ended up calling one of the numbers that they found. One of the numbers that they found, allegedly, was a number in San Bernardino, California. That was allegedly of a person who was bought a vehicle. But apparently that person messes with the father. Okay? Of the wife of this person. That person, who's Mexican or some kind of Latino, got to jabbering their jaws about the business, about what's going on, how he received the car, and so on. The drag queen said, fuck it, we're going to hit a lick, as is told to me. So they go and charge up more money, food stamps. They hit up the front desk of the Holiday Inn and was like, hey, we need to extend some nights. The person at the host at the Holiday Inn hit them back up and said, well, according to this energy, there's some points. And this is how many points. So allegedly the drag queens said, cool, let's do a week. So allegedly a week longer at the Holiday Inn was booked under the blind item man's information. When they did their lick, which was a whole bunch of groceries, these are younger drag queens. The older drag queens got mad because they felt that the younger drag queens disrespected them by not sharing the lick, because this was a good lick and it was a big lick by the blind item. A continuous of what I told you guys the last video. So the older queens are mad at the younger queens, right? But here's the weird thing and the interesting thing. The younger queens contacted a biological woman to figure out how to do the lick. Now they all know each other. The older queen got mad at the biological woman for giving the younger queens the energies of what to do. The older queens believe that the younger queens owe them for paving the way for this world. So my question was, well, instead of the queens or transvestites or transsexuals or whosoever worried about biological woman and trying to be godmother to us, shouldn't they be godmother to their own and teach them what to do? Because now they're feeling that when the old, this is crazy, when the younger ones get what they get, they supposed to give it to them or give them part of it. Or is this all just psychosis? I'm just telling you the story. I'm just telling you what the fuck is going on. Older queens mad at the younger queens. The younger queens said fuck the older queens. What are we dealing with here? In a minute, both are going to be in that autistic database. Right? Okay. So in reality, what's the spell work? What's the witchcraft in this? Is there some bewitchery? Right? But in reality, I want to put the queens to the side and I want to look at the man. Do black men deserve respect? Do they deserve to be treated as men? If they like getting bitched out, getting their dick sucked by men, getting their ass done by men. I'm just looking at it for what it is. Because we need to stop playing games at this point. How in the fuck are women being bewitched by men? The blind item is a conscious motherfucker, allegedly, who has a wife and children. But they are supposed to be respected as men. I'm talking about black men. Black men keep saying they're gods. Black men keep saying all of this energy. Maybe there's confusion. What's the bewitchery here? I was looking at Big Frida. Big Frida kept popping up on my feed. I think Big Frida is an insult. And I understand some of you people, that's your culture, that's your frequency, that's your movement. But Big Frida is an insult, and Big Frida is an insult to women. And Big Frida be clowning women in front of their faces. When I looked at the Easter parade outfits that Big Frida had on, I'm a little confused. I said, this man has transformed himself into a church auntie. A rich older church auntie who sits at the front with the Sunday best hat. He sat among women, and when women started arguing with each other, he got up like he had class. I'm not being rude. I'm looking at the facts. As Black people, we are environmentally dislocated and mentally not sound. Biological women condone this and will argue you down. We let the witchcraft and bewitchery move forward like we don't have a bit of sense. And when you speak on it, you're jealous. You're envious. Mind your business. You can't mind your business if you put it in front of people in the world of social media and bewitchery and cyber magic. I should not be looking at a man that have on an Easter parade outfit, which was cute as fuck. Because it looked like somebody made that for him. It kind of looked like this person I know named Josette. And he had on, I believe, was it boxers? Hair done, everything. But his dick was right there. I said, All right. The presentation Big Frida be trying to present is old school debutante. But if we were to place him into old school debutante, he wouldn't be. They will put him in a suit and he would be part of the cotillion. These energies of people are cosplaying old school frequencies of boule. Because they would have been considered riffraffs. Just like they're confusing the frequencies of dandy and the original frequencies of dandy. So you have all these people, Black people, that's in the fashion energy talking about, well, I'm a dandy. I'm a dandy. Put the puzzle pieces together what a dandy really is. And how it evolved through the years. My spiritual constituents is in the sex industry, and I will call her and them industry sex economists. Black people and fetishes. And what are the fetishes? Black women, we complain and we just want to be in a relationship with a heterosexual, straight, misogynistic man. Because that's what we've been led to believe about our black men. And more, as much as I fight, is tearing down the walls of who these people are. And they are scary. Sexually, they're scary. I was listening to a woman, a biological woman, who said, I let these men fuck all 4 of my holes. And I was counting, and I said, well, mouth, butt, vagina. Until somebody had to break it down to me and said the throat. What in the sex magic is going on here? So it's not 3, it's 4, and they consider the throat another hole. And then I had to envision it. I said, well, yeah, I guess. Because if you stick it in the mouth, it's all in one. Ugh. And then I said to myself, where did that come from? So I had to ask. I said, hey, why would a woman say she has 4 holes and a throat is the 4th hole? They said it came from gay men. Being throat goats. Having elongated, thicker, going down the throat. But they said it goes back even further to white women. Okay. Who were the original throat goats. Gay sex and white women go hand in hand. Especially their first go-to is oral sex. And opening up the esophagus and the throat for the penis to get stuffed in the throat. I said, what the fuck? A spiritual constituent was telling me about some energies with these black men. And the energies that she was saying, because of the industry that she's in, and I had to kind of verify, like, what the fucks? So she called it dom, man being dominated by a dominatrix, right? And as you know, they get directed depending what to do. White men are being directed to submit themselves to black dicks. She told me, other people told me, gay men told me. So they're being directed, dominated to fuck around with black men. And what I'm getting out of it, it could be any fucking where. A spiritual constituent gave the example, it could be an Uber driver. And the one who's being dominated was asked, "Can I suck your dick?" And she was saying 50% of the time it happens. Or they'll have sex with him. But these men, but he's going for heterosexual men, but the white man's supposed to be heterosexual. And then they're talking about the sexcapade parts. I understand this may have been going, but I'm just telling you, black women, that your man do be out here fucking around and fantasizing over some white boys. And being told that gangbangs or acts of rape, sadistic sadism, doesn't that go back to Shannon Sharp? That this is the in thing for black men to be pounding on some white boy, dicking them down, but playing heterosexual? The spiritual constituent was telling me about, it was one story, she telling me that he be up there getting, as you say, sexually assaulted but raped by a whole bunch of black men. And talking about he doesn't like it, but he do it because he's getting dominated. Apps, all of that. Then you wondering why your reproductive systems are fucked up and hysterectomies. You wondering why more females are coming up with gonorrhea and syphilis of the mouth and chlamydia of the throat. I tell my sons, I tell them, if a woman want to suck your dick, make sure you check that vagina. And that's the first go-to. Check her dental. Shit. And like I told my son, I said, you don't know who else dick she been sucking. You don't know who got feces dick. Since most of these men out here be sticking their dicks into assholes and doing all type of shit, you don't know. I said that's how AIDS was transferred. This is the world we in. This is what's happening, black women. Y'all out here talking about lavender men, marrying a lavender man. Shit, some of these niggas out here on Trident. They Trident niggas. They Neptune niggas. You talk about a trade, nah, call them, fuck a trade, call them niggas Neptunes. Yo niggas supposed to be out here working and doing whatever. A white boy walk up to him, be on some energies, and he be like, okay, why not? Shit. And connecting that shit back to slavery. That goes to show you what slavery was also about. Fetish and fantasy, huh? Mm. And black women, you not out of it. Because you like getting, because it's a new trend that you like getting dominated by another heterosexual woman. Y'all out here getting fake dick down by silicone fake dicks, having them stuff them in your mouth. Heterosexual women are doing dominatrix work, dominating other heterosexual women who call themselves heterosexual, but getting abused by a fucking strap-on and more. And having a free-for-all. Black women. Husbands and boyfriends watching their women getting strapped down by another woman. Black people. She's getting strapped down and so is he. If not, he's sitting there watching it. Then you wonder why we out here fucked up. We out here talking about on social media how we were molested as children and then having podcasts about it. The fuck you talking about? This trauma-based bullshit. When did black people get on social media discussing how in the fuck they were molested? For men and women and family. I watched a whole energy of a woman talking about that her mama molested her. Do you understand? I hear this shit day in and day out. And it is not to be televised because that is a motherfucking energy. And niggas want to hop on shit like fucking white people. It's all a setup and talk about, I want to have a podcast, talk about how I was molested and how it made me feel. What are you? You're going to throw that energy out in a universal soul and it sticks in the air. For you to repeatedly, continuously get assaulted and you think you're up there revealing and talking, you don't know that energy holds in the air. So you're going to get in front of social media and a podcast and talk about you being a victim. That's the same thing of like being on Donahue and you hear all those stories. In a minute you talk about it, it will not be a shockment. Then there won't be anything for individuals who are being sexually assaulted to get the resources they need because you out here playing fucking games and want to sit up and talk about that shit on a fucking podcast or do a fucking social media reel and talk about what the fuck has happened so the world can see you. Makes me think it's paid propaganda. Makes me think that you're from a fucking group home or something. I don't know. But what type of spell work is this? It's spell work, right? You guys are so bored with your lives. That you want to take whatsoever trauma, and everybody should know that I'm traumatized, you're traumatized, they traumatized, we traumatized. Let's be trauma together. More and more, I believe that you people should be put in a certain group, in a subculture. There's different variations of sexual assault, aka being molested. I have worked with individuals and seen the variations of how it manifests and it pans out. I've seen the psychosis of it. I've seen the mental of it. I've seen the spell work of it. And to put that shit out there is ridiculous, because I have seen such dark energy that comes from a person who have been severely sexually assaulted / molested, that it is wicked. And you don't want to fuck around with that type of entity. I've seen severely molested by a mother, severely molested by a father, severely back-to-back molested by uncles, severely molested by a whole lot of shit. Then I've seen situations where you have the Kanye experience, where you have the young black boy that's up there sucking their cousins and their brothers' dicks. I've seen situations where brothers molest their sisters. And then turn around and be cool with them as adults. I've seen it all. This is not a game, and this is just in the black community. So what type of propaganda is being pushed out? I went back and I was looking at the frequencies of the 3 parts of Kanye. And I forgot about the Yeezus or Yeezys or whatever. We have Kanye, we have Ye, and I'm going to say Yeezus. 3 different elements. You have this entity of 3 parts, and you don't know which one is. We have one that's gazy, we have one that's homosexual, and we have one who's fighting Christ. People understand that the gazy Kanye is the Gemini, but the Ye is the Sag, and the Yeezy is just under Lucifer. But both are fighting each other's shadow, from the Aries to the Libra. This is above your pay grade, what I'm talking about. The Kanye is in a cult. Hates his mom, but was groomed. The Ye is the cult. Given a handler, but is a handler. Perversion, sex energy. The prey becomes the predator. And if you read between the lines, when he's talking about cousins, he's talking about a cult. Children having sex with each other. You got a father who looking at Playboy, but a mother looking at something else. But supposed to, in a way, kind of be a church mother. And I've talked about this story, and I talked about this even with my spiritual constituents. And I told them, I said, damn, I remember and I talked about this, I was at a Christian a sleepover, meaning we all went to church. And I was at a birthday party, and I slept over, and it was at one of the church mothers' houses, who was also part of the women's group, auxiliary, we'll say. I'm left there with her daughter because I'm waiting for my mom. And her daughter says, come with me in my room. I want to show you what's in my hamper. I said, okay. And she opened up her hamper. There's a couple. One is a vibrator, big as fuck, white, and a dildo. I said, oh. I said, what's your mom? I said, does your mom know? She was like, let me show you something else. So we went in her mother's room. In the drawer, she opened it up. It was piles of sadistic sadism, tie 'em up magazines of white women. And I was like, so I went home. I sat. I told my mom. And my mom just looked at me because my mother's part of the ladies group. And she was like, and don't you say a word. Don't you say nothing at church. And don't you say anything ever. And then we talked about what was in the hamper. She said her mother knows it's there. She's just too embarrassed to get it. Oh. So, whatever hardcore that Ye thought he seen, that was cult. That's a cult. This nigga over here talking about he going to do porn and shit. For me, I told you, I think this Ye is a fucking Indian in costume. He looked like one. But then we have this Yeezus person, and people were talking about in East LA how there's a warehouse that is owned by him. They said at night you could hear music, but during the day you hear men grunting like they're training for something. I said, so he had a church, school, all of this. But do you understand? Because of Kanye West coming out with that, that's why you have these new breed of niggas out here talking about they want to do a podcast. The spiritual constituents were saying his ass is not from Chicago. These people have multiple energies within. That's why you have Pharrell Williams and Pharrell. Pharrell is the bougie gazy. But you got Pharrell Williams that's Neptune frisky. Are we going to stop this playing with these double lives? It's on the same lines as Young Thug. Right? Just like, let me go back to Kanye. He got himself attached to them Kardashians. But if you go back and you look at just the Kardashians, I'm not talking about the hoods of the Jenners. I'm talking about the Kardashians. Kourtney seems like the only one that may be normal. But she's dark as a motherfucker. She's an Aries. They have to be uprooting her soon. Chloe seemed like she has dyslexia. That's the honorary Kardashian. Kim Kardashian act like she's autistic. And Rob is so much under ritual that he's motherfucking bipolar. But the dangerous one is Kim, because she is autistic, so she's hypersexual. They done got Young Thug under work. I don't know if he's under the control or he is the controller. I'm wondering, is he controlling white boys? I don't know if he's Beelzebub. I don't know if he's a slave. I don't even know if that's a witch mask. All I know is when I'm looking at his energies, they got him under Aquarius. And then ending him with some Sag. But have him under Gemini, but loop him back into Leo. We don't know what's going on there. So we understand why them charges were dropped and been dropped. Because that nigga is, he's somewhere. But he's under ritual. He talking about he can't go back to Atlanta. He says he can't go back home. I'm confused. What's happening? Did you see him? I think, what is it, that GQ? Was it the GQ interview? I was scared. I said, damn, he looked like a one-eyed monster. What planet is he from? They out here playing with us. Did y'all see that shit? With Elijah Uranus? Gilbert Uranus and Laura Galvin's son. Govan, is it Govan? I heard her and her sister ain't shit. And they're rude as a motherfucker. I've seen Gilbert Uranus before, but I seen him in Disney. Was it Disney? No, Universal. He's a specimen. His son gets in a car accident looking like flashing lights, fire blazing, water blazing, water everywhere. Mexicans are everywhere trying to help. They pull him out to Tesla, the Cybertruck. Coincidence? He's a 5-star USC basketball recruit. 5 stars Masonic into the 5 percenters, right? Right? And when they say 5-star, that goes into the pentagram. They pulled him out and he was on his stomach. He had white socks on with white underwear. And he was moving. And somebody said, "Get up, bro. Get up, bro." How is he put in an induced coma? From the pictures to an induced coma? What the fuck? What's happening? Is he being reprogrammed? Was he running from something? Was he being assaulted? Was he getting under a ritual? He had on all white underwear, white socks. I was like, was he getting initiated? Because then I started looking at the Mexicans. I said, were they part of it? Because they had on white. What's going on? Fire and water? Earth? What in the rituals going on here? Right? Then we have this weird shit that went on with Deion Sanders' son. What the fuck was that? I have never heard no bullshit like that. Then you had niggas out here talking about he need to be humble. He need to be humble. Humble my motherfucking ass. I said, black people don't need to be humble for shit. Not for no man. Now, if they in some religion and spirit, cool, whatever. But when you come up to a fleshly man and carnal, what the fuck you humbling to? Social media got these niggas out here on some slave mentality. Then I said, damn. I said, that sounds very Indian, very Asian, to humble yourself. So, because some of you people will connect that to white people, but not necessarily. White people like razzmatazz because razzmatazz sells. Arrogance sells. See, with white people, they'll prefer you have razzmatazz, but then behind closed doors is something else. No, this sounds like some other culture of energies that have stepped into the house. Because in the football world, you're having a lot of Asians, meaning Chinese or whatever, and Indians that's running these teams behind closed doors and investing now. It's not the Italian frequencies and whosoever's. And I'm not saying that they haven't been here, but I'm knowing more and more and peeping that there's a lot of Chinese people investing in football and also Indians running it. And I don't know if they're Koreans, whatever, but I'm just saying what it is. And that humble spirit comes a lot from them. So there's variations to this draft. What's his name? It's Shedeur Sanders. He didn't get in the first realm. He didn't get into second realm. He didn't get into the third realm. He didn't get into the fourth realm, but he got into the fifth realm. Fifth is the highest point. Back to the star. Back to Masonic. There's so much convoluted shit going on. Then you got the 144. And all the numbers calculate to his birthday and more. Then with his energies, he's the high energy because he's under the Samuel and a warlock. Multiples of 4. Then it says he was born when you do the calculations 220. Then if you flip the 2, he was born 2002. Then you have these numbers all add up. This was all game. He's famous. Then he goes into the fifth realm and go to the Cleveland. Was it the Cleveland Browns? Isn't J.D. Vance from Ohio? Then some crazy shit go on where he gets pranked by this Jax kid whose father is the coach of the Falcons, but used to be the coach over there in New York? But then his son, then some other person that's a female with the last name, what's her name? The Schoen? Sydney Schoen, a Jewish girl, but she used to go to college in Cleveland. Then she ended up going to Mississippi, that old, what's it called? Ole Miss. And they said allegedly she was all type of hoes and was flunking the fuck out there. What is this connection? Then they said that Jax had been doing this shit, and they say he did this shit before to the white kid. Which the white kid was something, and he was an Aquarius. He's an Aquarius. Isn't he in New York or somewhere? Or Philadelphia? But they said that this Jax kid who did the prank, well, he didn't do the prank, but he gave the information to the person who really did the prank, allegedly. But they said he's done it before, and Biden and Kamala hid the shit. So wouldn't that make sense to why Trump said it was stupid for the teams not to draft him? Because it's all a circle. And then they're talking about this Jax kid is a menace. And and they said it's like he goes to two schools, because he was going to that Ole school. But they say he's a sexual harasser, and he harasses boys or males from 18 to 22. He be grabbing their dicks and asses. They say he's a menace, and they say he dumb as fuck, like the girl Sydney. And then they're saying they both on scholarship. They said the girl is on scholarship because, you know, her father is supposed to be Joe Schoen, or Schoen, whatever. And they said she's supposed to be under scholarship for psychology. And they said that this Jax kid is under some kind of scholarship for academics, for something for academics and athletics. And then they say he's supposed to be going to some school. What is it? Is it Barry? Let me see here. Is it in Georgia? Like, what the fuck is really going on here? Though the other draft, Cooper DeJean? And okay, so he just went. So he's supposed to be in this school, Ole Miss in Mississippi, but they said they had to put him in this other school called Berry College in Rome, Georgia. What the fuck is going on here? And then you had, what is it? That jiggle client, is it Clientine that was on the RuPaul Drag Race, dying at 44, but you have Shedeur getting in at 144. And then the time of death for the person that was part of the drag queen frequency, the RuPaul, died at like what, at 442? What kind of games is, how is this connected? Then I started thinking, because people were talking about a lot of them drag queens be sleeping with these football players. Was he one of them? What's happening? They got you out here calling Jiggle the person, what's it called, Bianca? A she, but it's clearly he's a he. He was a drag queen. And then allegedly he got his leg cut off. And I was like, is that diabetic? Somebody was talking about AIDS. And I said, well, shit. I said, is that pandemic shit that was going on when people were losing their limbs? Whatever it was, it's all connected. Then they was talking about, what is it? The Shiloh, the other Sanders. He got recruited, what, in Florida? Then 8 people. What is it, 800 people, I would say? Was it 800 immigrants got caught up there? What's going on here? We got, and then so when I said, dang, this sound Indian, then to find out that Jack's mother, the one who did the prank, is an Indian. And they saying she's connected to JD, that he's connected to JD Vance's wife. What's going on? Because I was saying that Shiloh and Shedeur mother, what's her name? Pilar? Doesn't she look Indian? Or mixed with it? Then they're up there talking about more and more about that Ole Miss school. And they were talking about how the Asians, the Indians, and the Asians there are basically subpar students. They're getting scholarships, and they're not even great students. They say they're getting scholarships. They don't go to class. Their grades. What is going on here? They out here trying to oust black people and the supposed Latino people from getting an education and scholarships, but they're giving scholarships to these people who don't need scholarships. Why would Jax Obrick, whatever his name is, Obrick or Obrich, why would he need a scholarship if his father is the coach of the Falcons? They were saying that when he was the coach over there in New York and he did that shit, they moved him from New York to the Falcons because his son did the same thing, allegedly. And it's almost like a Euphoria that showed Euphoria. When, remember in Euphoria, they had the son and father who were both into perverted sex. Because they were talking about over there at the Cleveland State where that Sydney Schoen was in, or Schoen. They was allegedly saying she was a hoe there just doing too much, and they had to move her. All of this is like, it's just straight ritual ass shit. And they got people caught up in this bullshit. And then they was allegedly saying that Trump told Cleveland, well, we really know what really is going on, but because he's in where he's at, to draft Shedeur or Shedar, whatever. We were just part of a ritual and didn't even know it. We out here not knowing that we want to say people who have money, their kids are getting scholarships They just goofed and played games with us to make us believe that our people, black people, whatever, are not worth getting scholarships. And they out here giving scholarships to people who don't even need scholarships and funding. Which include, they said, the Chinese kids, Indian kids. They telling it all. The fuck is this? And I thought to myself, I said, Deion Sanders didn't get his toes cut off for nothing for his sons not to get shit. Stop playing. They out here doing fucking rituals and shit in front of our eyes, and we're part of it. Our energy is part of it. It just goes around in a circle, doesn't it? Then they have the mess going on, with the damn Pope. They out here tripping because Trump wore blue. He don't who they put him in that. That's royalty, and apparently they want to make us believe that the funeral what's the funeral on Queen Elizabeth's birthday. That's why he wore blue. But I'm very interested in Biden's wife and that Melania, and why are they wearing black veils? Like as if their men are dead. Are they? Because that entity or deity that was in that coffin did look like Trump. That Pope. Is it me? My spiritual constituents was saying she was listening to one of the what is it? The Cardinals talking, and she said he sound like Biden. Why did all those people, why were they at his funeral? They had even the African presidents there, and the people was trying to make fun and say they didn't even know who they were. Shit, did they know? They had them in one section. I said, why are they calling this man the Holy Father? Why are black people out here trying to fight over seeing that white man? That's where we're confused. I said they must have gave Trump permission to travel abroad for religious purposes, huh? Or was he really there and we're just looking at an AI? Let me loop back. That was a publicity. That shit with Shedeur. That was a publicity stunt. I don't got time for that. That's spell work. They straight bewitched us. Just like with that story with Shannon Sharp. That's straight bewitchery. They done showed us 3 different white women. One skinny, one thick. They all were photoshopped. I said, if you don't get that little white boy that he was messing with, we're not about to play. Because they don't want to talk about in football. There's a whole bunch of sexual grooming going on. And it starts when they're in their pee-wees and junior football. It starts when high school. And all the football players be rubbing up and fucking each other and smelling each other's pheromones. Sweating and shit. And then after that, the audacity to go and groom. I guess a whole bunch of Greek stadium sex. It make you play harder. I guess after your game, I guess you need to let it out some kind of way. I guess y'all be in them locker rooms looking all that dick hanging. I guess you're attracted to it. So afterwards, you groom. I wonder where Shannon Sharp stood. Was he the groomer? Was he part of that? Or was he part of that sadistic energies with white men? That's why we heard what we heard. I'm not about to play with these people. Is that why the Wayans brothers, the Wayans show went off air? Because are they playing that game? Anything connected to him, you gonna get fucked up. I heard D.L. Hewley was talking shit. That sound like a love fight. Sound like he's not Shannon Sharp's type. You know. Kind of like with Method Man and Redman. And Redman was saying that he hasn't talked to Method Man, and you could hear the energies in the voice. And I was kind of like, okay. I haven't heard from him. We haven't talked, and we're not close anymore. I'm not saying what it is, what it ain't. I'm saying how Redman presented it. Black women gotta listen closely. I went back and I wanted to analyze the movie Sinners, right? And people been trying to argue about the Great Migration. You can't tell me shit about no fucking Great Migration. Somebody did Daddy talk about they got on a fucking train. What? Look, I'm not about to get on here and argue about no Chicago and Mississippi and all of that, because I'm very interested that this movie Sinners come out and it's supposed to be based in Mississippi, and we have a whole lot of shit going on with that Shakur Sanders and that Jax Uberich and that Sydney Schoen, all Mississippi. And then didn't a dang bridge fall in Mississippi? It fell. Now that didn't happen. Just like Alabama, Mississippi got dead bodies hidden too. So what they about to do in Mississippi? They've been on Mississippi for a minute, because I remember when there was a blackout there and the electricity went out and nobody was there to help them. They've been at Mississippi for a minute. A matter of fact, there's a lot of Indians in Mississippi, and their last name is Patel. And they were talking about a lot of them are at them colleges getting, scholarships, huh? We just talking. The bottom line of this all, if you understand the spell work of it, the Great Migration is really gentrification. The governmental energies create locations where they need to populate and create a certain type of economic frequency. If they went to the South and gave energy to go to different parts of the United States, that is called gentrification. Okay? And Black people was one of the first energies that presented gentrification as it documented. Not colonized, but gentrified. They pushed Black people into white neighborhoods to gentrify it, to change the frequencies. So when you had the Great Migration, it is called gentrification. Okay? And furthermore, you don't know what ethnicities or race these people really were. You don't know if they were Caribbean. You don't know if they were African. You don't know if they were indigenous. You don't know if they were American blacks. All they said was the South. which funneled a whole bunch of energy. The thing that I was always curious about was, why did they funnel Jamaicans and Haitians into the east when technically Jamaica and Haiti is closer to the west? It's very interesting. In the Carolinas, you have a lot of Haitians. That was intentional. They know exactly what they're doing. Okay. When understanding these frequencies, as we talk about the sinners, it's very interesting how it's uprooting that the Chinese been pretending as if they're Mexicans, Filipinos and Koreans and Japanese. But the real key are the Chinese pretending to be Mexicans and changing their last names. And I don't know who's paying for this, to Spanish or Mexican or Latino or Hispanic last names. Y'all better watch out, because they're learning Spanish, and then, you know, a lot of them look Mongolian or whatever they may call them, Siberians or whatever. They look like some Mexicans. So be careful, because they're out here pretending. They're out here pretending to be Mexicans and changing, just like they're changing and transforming the scope of Black history and themselves in Black places. Wherever where Black people were and lived, the Chinese are changing the energies like as if they were there. And not telling the full scope of the history. Okay? Just like Hindus are pretending to be Black Americans, right? And Hindus are also pretending to also be natives or indigenous people. Be careful out here. I'm just saying. Sinners. In my opinion, I believe there should be a Sinners 2. And with the Sinners 2, I believe it should start. I want to hear the Irish, for real, the Irish aspect of it, coming from Ireland into the Americas. And I want it to be a situation where the Choctaws are recast into Zulus. And the Zulus and the Irish are fighting against each other. And the Irish are the vampires. But the Zulus are the cannibals. That's a future horror movie that I think it should be the new Sinners. But something hit me about Sinners. I think this whole movie was a hoax. As I went back and I started thinking about the frequencies and the script, this movie was AI. I don't believe this movie was an authentic movie. I believe this movie was straight a hoax. I think it was created by AI. It gave an illusion. I believe the script was written by AI. When you hear them say, allegedly, the person who wrote it had to hurry up and write it, or whoever, or put it together, it seems very AI. I said, oh, no wonder all them story tales came about. You guys out here fighting over an AI movie. And they using the likes of people. I had to go back and look at the hoodoo woman. And what my spiritual constituents was talking about, because even I thought about it, like, that's very cryptic. Do you understand they just downed black women as occultists, spiritualists, root workers, hoodooists? Do you understand they just say we're full of shit and we can't do nothing? We can't read, we can't do shit? And then I had to think about it. Remember I said you have to look at who financed the movie. Some people said Asians, some people said Middle Easterns. How about both? Then you can understand why they put the black woman as death. Then I had to think about the Asian woman. Do you understand they put her, now that I think about it, and I'm going to look at it in a whole other form, she's looked at as a martyr. She killed herself. She killed herself for her family. She's considered powerful. She's not afraid of death, which is better than any spell work. I had to go back and think about her daughter. Was her daughter an illusion? The way they kept framing her, was she really talking to a daughter? Were they really alive? Did it appear like as if they were in a dimension? That's what I'm talking about, these hoax movies. Especially in the Middle Eastern culture, they are afraid of witches. And there's a church, which is a Shriner church, right? And I believe it's in Louisiana. And it's a church that they talk a lot about. And it's called, I don't know if it's called a Jerusalem Temple. And it's like an ancient Arabic order of the nobles of the mystic shrine. And then they say better known as Shriners. And that's Moors. Fez is Moors. When we go back into the witch hunt and witch murders, isn't it always connected to some Moors? Well, I'm always going to talk the darker side of something. Then the chocolate sister, who's supposed to have been married, that did look fucked up, that she's fucking this 19-year-old kid. And then he all between her legs and she's looking, it's just disrespectful. And I'm like, where was her? And then in my soul, when I was looking, I was like, where's her husband? What kind of movie is this? So here we go with the light skin, but she really wasn't, because I really believe she's Asian, that the biracial. But the dark skinned hoe and desperate, how they made her appear. And that's the world of hoax movies, sinner movies. AI movies are going to pull from a place, and it's going to give you a falsehood. be damned. I sit up here and let Islamic, Muslim, Allah motherfuckers, and I'm not being rude, but I am, disrespect or put in place propaganda to kill the art of occultism and spirituality, especially from a woman, especially a black woman. But they made sure to present the male energy, even though young, playing blues, as another form of hoodoo, which is by man. Notice, even with the Choctaw, it was always a man. And I notice within the culture of Islam or Muslim, whatever you want to say it, when it comes up to the word of witchcraft, it's always a man doing the exorcism. Men are doing the exorcism. Women exorcisms are different, but we have to be careful because if the woman is following the script of a man, that could be a different frequency. This movie was very interesting, but I think it should be reevaluated because there's some kind of connections with what's happening in the universe right now in Mississippi and this frequency right here. And I believe Sinners was a whole hoax, and that's our energies of looking at AI movies. And I talked about that saliva scene, that's fetish. And as somebody put Jewish porn, I see what you mean. I've seen it in hardcore porn. That's some other frequency right there. Is also disrespectful and demeaning. And to be honest with you, with her doing that weird shit like that, that was actually disrespecting the black male. But considering the fetish shit that they in, I'm not shocked. I'm thinking to myself, and I was like, what type of horror movies and documentaries need to come out? And to myself, I said, we need a docu-series about narco music. Wouldn't that be a cold docu-series or a show? And show different instances of narco music. And narco music could mean trap music and also drill music. And different frequencies of it, from Pablo, something from like similar to Pablo Escobar, to Noriega, to Ferdinand Marcos. That's a whole energy within itself. That's a series. And a different aspect of episode. Episode 1 could be in Mexico. Episode 2, I don't know, could be in Chicago. I'm just talking. Shit. California. Just different aspects. So people are very clear. Then you have the next episode in Panama. And dated backwards before America came in with crack and took over Noriega, but how Noriega was fucked with the Mauritius. Because America brought crack and guns to Panama. After Noriega, let's talk about Ferdinand Marcos. Let's talk, it should be an episode of, I forgot the salsa singer, and he died of AIDS. You guys, who knows? And he talked about how Escobar had him playing the same song all night, and he had to escape and got shot at. Let's talk about Sailor Cruz and all of that, their music. Then get back into Mexico Narcos. Do you know that's a whole show? That's an episode. And then could show how rap connected into prostitution, drugs, dope, and all of that. Gang wars. That's an investment. That's a show to look at and not to be on Tubi. Let's do another docu-series of how America, especially in the East Coast, stole the rap game from the Jamaicans in the underground London world, and they have been rapping in the underground world since the 1970s. And then have host the documentary or whatever, or the show, and have Slick Rick and Moni Love. Let's for real have some programming. Let's really have real hip hop. If you're gonna have a hip hop museum, admit where you got it from. Did we forget when that guy got on the stage when Big Daddy Kane was rapping or whatever and they was about to fight? And then show in America with church and chain gangs how rap started here in Americas. We just talking. Then I thought about some horror movies, right? Because Sinners have me going. And then I said to myself, I said, we need a horror movie called Iceberg Slim. The pimps are fucking gay vampires. And they bite all the heterosexual hoes and turn them into transsexuals. Y'all think I'm crazy? I'll be here thinking about this shit. If we want to play, why is it we don't have a Katrina horror movie? I want to see a Katrina horror movie. What is that? That hospital that's vacant, where they was eating people during the Katrina energy. The Lindy Bugs Medical Center. When you hear the shit that happened there, that is a whole horror movie that should connect to the Six Flags. And it's a Katrina, and it should be like zombie-like energies or something, or almost like a Dawn of the Dead. Have y'all seen that place? And for both of that Iceberg Slim and that Katrina movie, they should have the soundtrack for be all the dead people that got shot down and murdered in Louisiana. I'm talking about the rappers. From Soldier Slim, all of that. That'd be a cold piece of work. And even have others like soundtrack. Even people who are alive. You have NBA Youngboy. And I was thinking about like that Travis Scott and Playboy Cardi. Like for real shit. Not this weak shit. They were talking about in Hollywood is not the actors, is the people doing the background that they keep trying to replace and go cheap on. They said they're getting crazy out here saying that they're going to Thailand and shit. I said, oh. They said they're taking a cheap route. I was even thinking about, I said, there should be a movie, a for real movie about the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, because the real story is that they don't think it was really an earthquake. And they're saying that first you see fire, you don't see fire, you don't see smoke, you don't see smoke. then I started thinking, did they just build over the real San Francisco? Because when you kind of go on a tour, you realize San Francisco was an underground city. So did they build on top of the real city? That's a whole horror movie if we want to play games. We just talking, we just having conversation. Yeah. I think they should create horror movies now and put the dead people music in it. What's his name? Extension and all of them. King Von. Pop Smoke. Yeah, all of them. Juice World. Take their music, the unreleased shit, and just put that shit in horror movies. No AI. I guarantee you will be spooked. I guarantee you if you was to take Messy Maya shit, just raw, and put it in something. That's some that's underground shit. That's why I said people need to go underground. Anyway, this is Weird Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.